You know what this community needs? An official unicycle tier list. Let's do it. Alright, here we go. The end-all, be-all. The official electric unicycle tier list. Let's start it off hot with the Motion V12. As you guys know, I own this wheel. I absolutely love this wheel. Why is my S below my A? I'm going A tier with the Motion V12. I think that this would have been an S tier wheel if it was a little bit simpler to maintain and work on. But as it is, I think this wheel covers all the bases. It's got suspension. It's an InMotion. The build quality is fantastic. It feels great. It goes 30 miles an hour. It's got decent range. Overall, solid A tier. Up next is the brand new EX2, the wheel that nobody asked for. D tier, ugly as hell. Alright, after that we have a controversial one, the Monster Pro. Me, personally, S tier. This wheel, it's a game changer. I'm going to move it down to A tier, though, because it is a Gotway. The build quality, not there. Other than that, though, I mean, 24-inch tire, 3,600 watt-hour battery. It's heavy. Another reason to drop it down a tier. But to me, one of the best wheels you can get, the Monster Pro. All right, next up on the list, we've got the Bot Z10. Ooh, this one's really hard to rank. I'm going to go C tier. C tier for the Bot Z10. A lot of people absolutely love this wheel. I know that it's going to get some controversial yelling at me in the comment section down below because people absolutely adore this wheel, but there's a lot of big issues with it. A, small battery, doesn't go that fast. Huge wide tire is weird to ride on. And most importantly, if you were to get one of these wheels right now, getting parts are near impossible. They stopped making this wheel. You have to buy like the Chinese knockoff pieces. It's not like official 9-bot. It's a wheel that you don't want to own, but you want to own. C tier. All right, next on the list. Ooh, another tough one. The Pagode Hero. I'm going to put the Pagode Hero as a B tier. B tier for a couple reasons. I do believe it deserves to be very highly ranked, even though we haven't seen a lot of this wheel yet. I believe that with the waterproofing, the suspension system, it appears to be the most finished and well put together, well designed Gotway wheel to date. However, it looks like it's going to be an absolute terror to work on if you have any maintenance issues. And the price is ungodly. It is so expensive for what you're getting. An 1,800 watt-hour battery for almost $4,000. B tier. All right, up next, another new wheel, the Pagode Commander. This is a wheel, again, we don't know a ton about it. It is tempting to put in these higher tiers. I think we're going to go with the B tier, just like the Hero, because there's so much unknown about this wheel. People are starting to get them and ride them. However, again, build quality, not exactly the best. We still don't know a ton about it. It's a bigger, heavier wheel, but a 3,600 watt-hour battery. Ooh, a 20-inch tire. You know what? We're going A tier. We're going A tier because it's a smaller version of the Monster Pro. I believe both those wheels are the longest range wheels you can get. We're going to put them both in the A tier. Up next is a fan favorite, the M103 S Tier. Easy S tier. Price, portability, fun factor, uniqueness. It's got everything going for it. The only thing it's missing is the build quality, as it is a low-end Gotway unicycle. But the M103, if you haven't seen one of these wheels, it's the king of the trick, the king of the sidewalk. Go check out the M103. Definitely an S tier wheel. All right, and that brings us to the MCM5, another Gotway wheel. You're going to see a ton of Gotway wheels because Gotway makes the most wheels. The MCM5 is a great starter wheel. It's a nice little wheel for somebody who just does sidewalks. It's highly portable. We're going to go B tier with the MCM5. You can get it in different battery configurations. So it's a neat little wheel. It's a nice, I believe it's a 14-inch tire. It's a nice little wheel, you know, nothing special, nothing too fancy. B tier. All right, next, the Gotway Tesla. The Tesla, which I believe is now on the V3. has different configurations. It's got a 16-inch tire, I believe. It has decent range, decent speed, decent price. For the money, I don't think you can do much better than the Tesla V3. I'm going to go with a solid A tier on the Tesla. I think it's a really great wheel, something that you can get your hands on. I think I would probably put it as an S tier wheel if the build quality was a little bit better, if it wasn't a Gotway. Perhaps if it was on the par of an InMotion or a Kingsong, it would get up to that S tier, but we're going to go A tier with the Gotway Tesla. All right, moving right along, we are already on to another new wheel, the Kingsong S20. We know nothing about this wheel. It's one of the most hyped wheels. It's the highest voltage wheel ever produced. It's got a big 20-inch tire. It's got a big fancy suspension system on it. It's got a nice battery. It's got nice speed. S tier. We're going S tier. I know nothing about it, but I'll tell you what. This is going to be one of the highest selling wheels of the year. Guarantee it. It's got to be an S tier wheel. It's got to be. Now, that might be proven wrong once we actually get our hands on them. It might actually be an F tier wheel. Who knows? But we're going to go S tier for now. All right, next up on the list is probably the most popular wheel ever sold, the InMotion V8F. In my opinion, the gold standard of beginner wheels. And it's not just a beginner wheel. It goes 20-something miles an hour. It'll give you good range. The build quality is phenomenal. If you needed to get parts for this thing, they're readily available. They're cheap. S tier, no question about it. One of the best wheels you can buy. InMotion V8F. All right, next up on the list is the Veteran Abrams. This is a very interesting offering by the Veteran Corporation, the second wheel they've brought to market. A 22-inch tire with a 2,700 watt-hour battery. I think we're going to put this in the B tier. I think we've seen a lot of people being critical of this wheel, and the design of it is a little bit off. It's designed to be an off-road wheel, which is wrong in my opinion for a 90+ pound wheel. It's so heavy with that giant 22-inch tire on it. It's not going to be hyper maneuverable. I think it's really designed to be a street wheel with the roll cage. I think we're going to see, hopefully we see a little revision to this wheel. I think if we went with a high-speed motor, I think we should go with a street tire. I think if you get it in the right environment, in the right conditions, I think this wheel could move up to A tier. But we're going to leave it in B tier for now, especially because we haven't seen a ton of it. B tier. All right, up next is the Kingsong 18XL. And I got to say, I think this wheel, it's probably hovering somewhere between S and A. I love the 18XL. I think it is one of the highest quality wheels produced. I'm gonna bump it up to S tier. I'm gonna put the Kingsong 18XL in the S tier. I think it's the best wheel that Kingsong has made to date. I think it's one of the best backup wheels that you could have. A wheel that you can learn on, a wheel that you can grow with, a wheel that once you finally do progress to a bigger, faster wheel, something like a Monster Pro, the 18XL is not something you're going to want to get rid of. The 18XL, phenomenal wheel, phenomenal build quality, S tier. All right, next on the list, the Kingsong 16X. This is a wheel absolutely adored by people who own it. Personally, I haven't gotten to ride one of these before, so it's going to probably taint my opinion on it. I think based on other people's reviews, we're going to put this in an A tier. The Kingsong 16X, for what it is, a fantastic wheel. I mean, it's not something that you're going to want to be riding at 30 miles an hour. Definitely not. And we've definitely seen some issues with the 16X. And we've definitely seen some issues with the 16X as far as cutouts go. I do believe that Kingsong lowered the voltage threshold on the 16X to allow you to get a little bit more battery out of it, but that also means that pushing higher speeds lower into the battery is more dangerous. So it's, you know, it's one of those wheels where people absolutely adore it, but it is starting to age itself out of the market. I'm going to put it in the A tier though, because people really love this torquey little wheel. A tier. All right, next up, we are going to lump all of the 9-bot 1s, Cs, Es, As into one category. F tier shit wheels, don't buy them. Look, some of the Es and stuff aren't that bad, but as a total group, the 9-bots, F tier. Stay away. especially because you can't really get replacement parts for them now. Ninebot stopped producing unicycles. They haven't made a new wheel in years, and I just don't think getting yourself into a Ninebot is the correct way to go, especially when there are great options like the InMotion V8F, like the 18XL, like the 16X, the Tesla. I mean, you got a ton of really high quality options. They're going to be in the same kind of price realm. I would go with one of those over any of the Ninebots. All right, next up on the list, the InMotion V10F. This is a wheel I think we're going to move down to C tier. Honestly, it's not one of my favorites. I think it's kind of lost in the current market, especially with its price to performance ratio. I think you could do a lot better by going into a Gotway, going into an 18XL from Kingsong. The V10F, it's a nice little starter wheel for somebody. If you're a bigger guy and you really are set on getting an InMotion, maybe the V8F isn't powerful enough for you. Maybe you should go with the V10F. But overall, I just find the V10F to be lacking in a lot of categories. The build quality is great, though. It is a really nice wheel. I just don't think it's on par with some of the higher tier wheels we have on this list. C tier. All right, up next on the list is the Gotway EX. This wheel is the fastest suspension wheel on the market until the King Song S18 comes out anyways. But overall, the reception on this wheel was really poor. Some people like it, some people hate it. I'm going to go with the C tier on the Gotway EX. I think it's underrated for what it is. You know, having that dampening system, having a big battery. I think people wanted this to be an off-road mutter wheel. I think people wanted it to be a better suspension. It just didn't meet expectations, especially considering they put the decision, again, to put that torque motor in it makes no sense to me. I think they would have done themselves so much better had they stuck the high-speed motors in these wheels. Overall, C tier, not a great wheel. Not terrible, but just not a great wheel. All right, next up on the list is another wheel that's not currently being produced, but if you can get your hands on one, the Monster V3, in my opinion, S tier wheel. Absolutely gorgeous wheel, 22-inch tire, huge battery capacity. I love this wheel. I think it's super comfortable to ride. I think it is one of the highest performance wheels. It was originally the fastest wheel in the world at one point, I do believe. I think you really cannot go wrong getting your hands on a Monster V3. Like I said, they don't make them anymore, so it's gonna be really hard for you to get one, but if you do get one, cherish it and hold on to it, because that is a S-class wheel for sure. All right, and moving on, we're going with another Gotway offering, the Gotway Nikola. We're gonna call this the Nikola Plus, the Nikola Plus AR, whatever you want to call it. Easy A tier wheel. Absolutely one of the greatest bang for your buck wheels you can get on the market as far as what you're going to pay for what you're going to get. This wheel, easy to work on, great battery, great range, great speed. It's a little 16-inch tire, which isn't really for me. I prefer the bigger tires. But if you are looking for a great wheel on a budget, you can't really go wrong with the Gotway Nikola, especially the Nikola AR by Alien Rides with that big old battery extension on it. Absolutely A tier wheel, no doubt about it. And I would have to say it's probably the nicest build quality of any Gotway wheel, besides maybe the Hero. We're going to see how that comes out. But to date, I would say that the Gotway Nikolas are definitely the highest quality wheel that Gotway has produced. Just my opinion. All right, next up is another wheel that I personally own, the Gotway EXN, and honestly, the only thing keeping me from putting this in S tier is the build quality. The quality itself on this wheel, not fantastic. It's not terrible, but it's really not that fantastic. I love the speed, I love the range, I love the battery, I love everything about this wheel, the simplicity. I absolutely love the Gotway EXN. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. A tier wheel, easily. One of the best wheels you can buy. And again, when we're talking that bang for the buck, you really cannot do much better than the Gotway EXN. Something that can travel 50 miles an hour if you were crazy enough. At that price, the Gotway EXN is a no-brainer, easy buy, A tier wheel. All right, next up is another InMotion wheel. It's going to be the InMotion V12. We've just seen these starting to hit the shores. People have really loved this wheel. It's really hard for me to rate this one, though, because it's such an awkward fit in the current dynamic of electric unicycles. I think we can probably safely put it in the A tier, because you're comparing it to a wheel like the Nikola Plus, right? It's got the 16-inch tire, similar battery configurations. The build quality is a little bit nicer, but you don't have the option of getting more battery like you do with the Nikola Plus. You know, the V12, I think it sits a little bit awkwardly in the market as it stands. It's really not a beginner wheel because it's not cheap enough. It's not light enough for you to really learn on properly, and it's too fast, where if your first fall comes at 30 miles an hour, it's kind of a shocking fall compared to something like, say, the V8F, where maybe your first fall is coming at 18 miles an hour, maybe 20 miles an hour. You know, and that first fall is definitely something you have to get over. So I just think that the V12 is a little bit awkwardly positioned in the market right now. It's definitely a contender to be the best mid-tier wheel. I just don't know how many people are currently jumping into that mid-tier wheel market. I'm seeing a lot more people either go with a smaller beginner style sidewalk type portable wheel, or they're just jumping right into the big boys, the EXNs, the Gotway Monster Pros, the Veteran Shermans, the Veteran Abrams, whatever it is, the Kingsong S18. Like, you're seeing people jump a whole category above the V12, and a ton of people jump below the V12. The V12 and Nikola category, I believe, is a little bit awkward right now. We'll see how it develops coming this spring, though. Maybe that's just a bad indication of what I'm seeing. Maybe I'm just not seeing enough of those mid-tier wheels. We'll get a better idea come this spring, once the V12 is really fully available and it's no longer on a short supply. We'll see how many people are riding the V12 this spring. All right, next up on the list is an absolute industry game changer, the Kingsong S18. This is a really hard wheel to rank. You know, from innovation standpoint, S tier, absolute S tier. It's clearly led the way of the suspension revolution. You're seeing all the new suspension designs be based on the S18. Performance-wise, probably C tier. It's really got a poor battery, a poor motor. I think I'm gonna put it in the B tier. I think it has an argument for A tier, but I have it below the Motion V12 as an all-around vehicle. So I think we're gonna have to go B tier with the S18, with the asterisk that it is a game changer of a wheel. This is leading the revolution of suspension, so you have to give it bonus points for that. But I think we can safely put it in B tier. It's kind of a low quality build, especially for a Kingsong. The battery, way too small for what it is. It needed a bigger battery. The whole design of it looks cool, but it's also open to a lot of dust and stuff. I just, for me, the S18, fun wheel, but not an S or an A tier wheel. I think it is a tier below. I did put, as you saw, the S20, which is basically the upgraded S18, in the S tier. So I think that with an asterisk, we're gonna go B tier. All right, next up on the list, I think easy S tier. The Gotway Rs, bang for the buck, the quality, the options. I mean, you're talking about a wheel, you can get different types of battery cells now. You can either go with the lithium ion or the lithium iron phosphate cells, which are much safer. You can get a high torque motor or a high speed motor. You can put different tires on it. Maintenance is super simple. It's got a classic 1800 watt hour, 100 volt battery. Parts are extremely easy to come by. It's extremely easy to work on. It's a very, very fairly priced wheel. It goes 50 miles an hour. It's got literally everything you could want. It's got the right price. The only thing that you can really say negatively about the RS is that the build quality isn't exactly the best. It is a Gotway, as expected with Gotways. The build quality isn't on par with an InMotion or a Kingsong. But other than that, it hits every single check mark. The Gotway RS, one of the best wheels that you can buy. Absolutely worth looking into, especially if you're on the market for a budget electric unicycle. Gotway RS, easy S tier. And last but certainly not least, that brings us to the Veteran Sherman. I think everyone knows this is an easy S tier wheel. I think we're going to look back in the future and see that the Veteran Sherman really led the way for the game-changing speed and range that we're seeing in the current electric unicycle market, turning these vehicles from little sidewalk toys into legitimate street vehicles, almost motorcycle-like. The Veteran Sherman has a very utilitarian design. It's easy to work on. It's got the highest specs in the business. The roll cage is a really great feature. Easy S tier for me, the Veteran Sherman. Clearly based on the community reviews, based on the sales, the Veteran Sherman, it's sold so well you can't even get one right now. So by all means, the Veteran Sherman, top of the class, easy S tier. All right, and there we have it, the official 2021 electric unicycle tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If your favorite wheel didn't appear on the tier list, comment down below and let me know why your wheel should have been in what tier, and let me know what wheels I messed up. As always, guys, be sure to like this video for me, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and until next time, ride safe. Really? During my outro? Ride safe.